Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Um, it's Jill without Terrence. Terrence is at work. I was just sitting here doing some work and I said, you know what, let me just come on and speak to our people. Um, oh my God, y'all. I mean, just so many emotional and mental things are going on, and sometimes we just need to share. Um, Yesterday, I got a revelation, a breakthrough moment, and I just wanted to share it with you, just in case you're going through this as well. Before I get into that, just let me tell you that yes, Terrence and I are going live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want to share something with you all, a testimony that just stopped me in my tracks, like literally just stopped me in my tracks, and just you know how God works behind the scenes. And sometimes you think one way and God is coming through from another way. So we're going to share that with you tonight. So make sure you turn on your notifications. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I was just, as I said, I was just sitting here working, and I was just, because when Terrence gets up, he gets up at 5. Like he be all the way live, and so I try to sleep. I, put the pillow over my head and the blankets, but you know, dude, he don't care nothing about me trying to rest. Like he gonna do his thing. So needless to say, soon as he walks out the door, I pop up. So I've been up since about 6. So but I'm up, and I was getting some work done, and I just wanted to, just share with you all like where I've been mentally and emotionally. And so those of you who follow us regularly know that uh you know um I lost my job in February. What we didn't tell you, or what we probably mentioned in other videos, is that, you know, Terrence, sometimes when Terrence say, not sometimes, but most times when Terrence say things out of his mouth, it comes to pass. That's why we call him the wordsmith. But he has a way with speaking things into existence. And so for the last couple of years, he's been saying, I got to get you home. 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 But I'm like, when, you laid me off of my job, like that's a little trauma. That's a little devastating. And so, but needless to say, it came to pass. And so for the last couple of months, years, and decades, I've been dealing with going through processes. I've been dealing with going through processes, being processed. I feel like sometimes, I don't know if you feel like this as well. Like sometimes I feel like I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to get to the end result. And so, and that's how I've been. And we talked about all the time how we had a long single process. Like our process, being single was a long process, but being married now is a process. Like it is now a process. There is another type of process going on, and it's with me, not being in control. And so trusting the process, trying to understand the process, and trying to enjoy the journey at the same time is a process, and it's not always easy. And so not having my own income, and I know it's for good. I mean, I know God is doing his good and perfect thing. I know he doing it. So just going through that process of letting go and releasing and allowing my husband to take care of me, which I prayed for. So so that's a process. And so and then you know yesterday I just got a just like this aha thing. And I'm like, everything in life is a process. Like we think we're going to get to the end of something, and something else is going to come. It's going to always be, we're going to always be in a process of something. Another process that we're in is building our real estate business. Um, I and this is how this is what's messing with me mentally, because I built a real estate business in Maryland years ago. I got my real estate license in Maryland in 2003, I think. Yeah, 2003. And I had it almost, my license for almost 10 years. And I had a real estate license in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. I sold real estate in just about every county in the state of Maryland. And I did all of that while in grad school, while also working for the federal government. To be a part-time doing real estate, quote unquote part-time, like I was rock and rolling. I made a lot of money, a lot of money. I was able to do some great things during that time. And so, I saw the success of it. So now getting back into real estate, because I know that, when I got out of real estate, then it was it was almost like the enemy pushed me out. I got, a little, the market, had start turning, and I got a little fed up, and so spending a lot of money to maintain licenses, and it was just beginning to be overwhelming. At the same time, I was also building my own another business. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Real estate ain't it. But I loved doing real estate. I absolutely loved I was good at what I did. I loved selling real estate. And so now getting back into it with my husband, it's like a match made in heaven. It's like the perfect combination, like for so many reasons, so on it, over the last year or so, this is what I've been doing. I've been transitioning back into real estate. So that process is a little daunting, especially when I've been there before. So getting back up to par and getting back up to building um, the real estate business, not so much where I had it before, because the two of us together is double. But just the process, learning the state of North Carolina and learning how, brokers down here operate, and, learning the culture, and learning the product, and learning, just that now we got social media on the rise. And so just learning, just relearning and going through the process. I feel like I'm going at baby steps, and I'm like, I know real estate. I know how to sell. I've sold like $1 million homes, as well as, my lowest home I've ever sold was a condo that was 105,000. So I know the gamut of selling real estate. And so, but having to go back to like the baby steps, like, y'all, it's just messing with me mentally. It's just really messing with me. And so I had a meltdown, and and it wasn't the usual meltdown like I usually have. Because had this been like a year ago or 2 years ago, y'all, I probably would have lost it. But I'm gonna tell you why I've mastered the process. I'm gonna tell you why I've mastered it. So yesterday, like over the weekend, um, we laid my sister-in-law to rest, my sister-in-law to rest, and it was a weekend just full of family. Like, I'm down here in the country, y'all, and we eat. And so we always talk about how our single process was the longest, but that's not true. What's been the longest process for me is my weight loss process. The weight loss process has been the longest process for me. And I'm learning now that I got the aha moment, was that it's not so much about the process, it's about the journey, and it's about the lifestyle. But over the weekend, on Friday, the family got together. First, we got together. Of course, we had to go, view the body, and make sure my sister-in-law was right. And so the family went and we did that. After we did that, we went out to eat, and we went and had some serious barbecue. And so ribs, macaroni and cheese, hush puppies. I mean, just a whole bunch of food that I don't usually eat on a day-to-day basis. The next day was the funeral, and literally, Terrence and I ate the exact same thing from the morning, from the time we left our home to go to the funeral. We stopped and we got the same exact thing on the way. At the repast, we ate the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, he ate bread. Ate a roll. And the evening after all, the funeral and everything, we all went bowling. The whole family went bowling because we have family coming in from New York, and so we all went bowling after everything because the Smiths are bowlers. And so that night before we went to bed, I got on a scale. And when I tell y'all, I had a meltdown, but it was a private meltdown. I shared it with Terrence, but inside I was more upset than I was expressing it um outwardly. And so but I was like, what the heck? I just feel like I'm so defeated. Like I put in all of this work and then only to be back to ground zero. Like I just feel like it's just like crazy, crazy. So anyway, yesterday, I was like, okay, it's Monday. I'm going to get up. And let me just tell y'all, I felt accomplished. I got my steps in. Me and my sister was going back and forth. Like she's sharing her steps. I'm sharing mine. She texted me last night. She got 12,000 steps in. I had over 9,000 yesterday. So I was like, okay, I'm getting back, I'm getting back up to, my mojo. Mondays are always good for me. I was born on a Monday, so I feel like Monday is always a great start. I'm very motivated on Mondays, even though the enemy over the years try to give me Monday blues, but truthfully, that's not the case. I love Mondays. Um, but yesterday, I mean, it was such a great day. Yesterday, God gave me the revelation. And, again, still having my pity party about having to go through a process. Like, I'm always going through a process, thinking that I'm the only one going through the process. But the Lord reminded me of something, and He shared with me that one, it's not a process, it's a journey. Two, that you're never going to have a straight good morning because that's not how He developed the world. He developed it to be balanced. So you're going to have ups and downs, goods and bads. You're going to have these. So He tells us, when we get to the bad, that's where you really come to know the Lord. Like you in your suffering, that's when you really come to know the Lord. So He was revealing that to me. But He also reminded me that you don't master the process until you learn how to rest in it. And that's when it becomes a journey. Instead of you looking at it as a process, at that point it becomes a journey. And then I got the revelation. Let me share it with y'all a couple of years back. And I was like, Lord, like you gave me the revelation, and it was something that you had taught me already. Like, how did I forget? Anyway, a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact, it was 2 years ago. Some of y'all know the testimony. We got a whole video on it. Terrence and I decided we was going to move together before we got married. And during that whole year, right before we got married, planning a wedding, like all hell was breaking loose. Like every time you turn around, something was going on and something was just breaking, and like it was like all kind of hell was going loose, breaking loose. One of the things that was happening is that um I had taken a job at a university up in the Raleigh Durham area in 2015, and I had taken the position because my business mentor at the time, I was new in the area, and my business mentor had known the chancellor, and my business mentor said, Jill, there's an opportunity. I was building my business in a new city, the Savvy Servant, my nonprofit consulting, and she was like, my business mentor was like, I know of this opportunity where there's a new chancellor that's coming to the university, and she's building her team, and da 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 da. and you may want to work there, one, to get yourself some income, because I had, my one of my contracts was finished. I was like desperate for some income, and as well as trying to, and she said, in this way you can start to meet some people. And she was like, Durham is really good with like building Black business. And so I was like, okay. So I considered it. I was like, I really don't want to take a job, but I did it anyway. So I took the position, and that was like the end of 2015. And it was great because I was able to build my business as well, at the same time. And so the person who I went to work for, or work with, or work for, he was like the best boss I've ever had in my entire life. And so he knew what I was doing, building my business or whatever, and he worked with me. He was all for it. And so he convinced me. So it was only supposed to be a temporary situation, because I was supposed to come on just to help him on board his executives. So he had just come on under the chancellor. He was her vice chancellor, and he had to build his directors, which was like, I want to say it was like 6 or 7 different departments. And so my position was to come on and help him recruit for those positions. And so 2016 came, and he said to me, he said, and now it was time to hire him as an assistant. And he was like, Jill, I need you. And I was like, no, I'm a business owner. He was like, no, but I really do. I need you. He said, let me tell you something. And one of his other directors, they sat me down. They was like, Jill, let me tell you the strategy here. They were like, you only need to be in state government for 5 years. Once you get your 5 years, you come out fully vested. And so they was like, Jill, I'm telling you, if you can commit, he said, I will work with you, building your business. He was like, but I'm just asking you for 5 years. And I was like, that's a long time. That's a long process. So I did it. And when 5 years came, which would have been 2021, now, in the process of that 5 years, the chancellor ended up passing away, and my boss, the one who wanted me to give him 5 years, he ended up leaving. So, but I was kind of quote unquote stuck. I had to be there I was trying to stay vested. So 2021 came, and of course, it was after the pandemic. A lot of stuff had changed, and we were now working from home. So it was a sweet deal. Um, Now I got to be wise how I say this, because the enemy he was working all up in there. But 2021 came, and that May, I was fully vested. I was fully vested so I could leave. But that June, Terrence and I decided we were going to move together. So because we were working from home, and because we were working from home, and because I was trying to have this fabulous wedding, I said, okay, well, I can just relocate from Raleigh, Durham to Charlotte. I'm working from home anyway, and it can work. I let my new boss know, she knew I was getting married. And as soon as I did that, she required that I come back in the office. So I moved to Charlotte, and I had to commute from Charlotte to Raleigh, Durham, 3 to 4 times a week. And it was 2 hours each way. And when I tell y'all, I kicked, screamed, and hollered the entire way, going back and forth, going back and forth. It was such a strain on Terrence and my relationship. And so, on the way there, I was, the first couple of weeks or days, because I was wedding planning, I was able, and because my sisters live, and my girlfriends live out of state, I was able to like talk to them on the phone and stuff. One of my girlfriends called and said, Jill, I got a word from the Lord for you. She said, and she lives in Raleigh, Durham as well. She said, and she's a pastor now. Shout out to, let me just call her name, Carnella. Carnella Renee Hill. Carnella Renee Hill, I love you, girl. She was one of the friends I met in Raleigh, Durham. She went through Duke Divinity School when I was there, but we were both in business. She was an interior designer. We were both our business mentor. We shared the same business mentor, and that's how she and I developed a great friendship. But she was in Duke Divinity, and she called and she said, Jill, the Lord gave me a word for you. And she said, this commute that you're doing, the Lord is doing something in you. And the Lord says that during this commute, you are not to listen to nothing but the word. Y'all, that was boring for me. Let me just be clear. That was very boring for me, but I did it anyway. And so the whole ride going up and coming back, between listening to the Bible app and listening to like preaching sermons, like I had, Tony Evans every morning, I would listen to Tony Evans. The Lord started doing something to me. And for the first couple of months, because remind you, I did this from June of 2021 to April 2022. I did this consistently. And most times, let me be clear and transparent, most times I came home and Terrence and I fought. Most times. And so I was so, like, the process was killing me. And so in January, y'all know the story. In January, we decided that we were no longer going to sleep together. And I moved out of our bedroom and I moved into the guest bedroom. And things started just like turning around. And at that time, I started to get comfortable with the process. Our wedding was coming up. It was like January. Our wedding was coming up in April. Things were starting to get very, very exciting. It was just like I started to rest in the process. I started to rest in the process. And y'all, I kid you not, in April, right before our wedding, in April, matter of fact, it was the week before our wedding, I got an email from someone who found me on LinkedIn. I don't know where this came from. They found me on LinkedIn and said that they had a position at Wells Fargo and wanted to know if I would be interested in taking the position a week before the wedding. I had 2 rounds of interviews. The first was the week before the wedding. I had the interview. The week of the wedding, I had the first interview. The week of the wedding, on that Thursday night, when all the guests started coming in, we all went to Fahrenheit restaurant. Anybody who knows Fahrenheit, it's like Charlotte's best view ever. It overlooks this whole skyline of Charlotte. And we're up on the rooftop. And y'all, I looked down and the Wells Fargo building where I would be working for was right there. And I was like, Lord, I know you're speaking. I know you're speaking. The Monday after the wedding, Terrence and I were going away to the mountains for a couple of days. I get an email and they wanted to do the second interview. The second interview. And so I let them know I'm on my honeymoon, but we will cut this honeymoon short for this interview. So I had that interview they scheduled it for that Friday. That was Friday, May 13th. They scheduled it for that Friday. We cut our honeymoon short to come home so that I can because we were going to stay the whole week, so that on Friday I could get this interview. Monday, was that? No. That wasn't, no, I take that back. That wasn't May 13th. The following Monday, I get a phone call. They offered me the position. So I had 2 weeks. I had to give a 2-week notice. I gave my 2-week notice. My last day was at the job in Raleigh, Durham was on May 13th, and I started working for um, Wells Fargo on May 16th. Now, let me tell you how shrewd God is, because it was May 16th of 2016 that I started working at that job. When I say it came full circle, it came full circle, full circle. And so I was thinking about that yesterday, and about how what Carnella has said to me, that I was like God was doing something to me. And I remember when things like shifted. It was like soon as I got in alignment with God, because that was a daunting drive. Physically, it took a lot out of me. Mentally, emotionally, I would leave the house at 5:30 in the morning. I would leave out with Terrence, but I would leave the house at 5:30 in the morning. Many nights I wouldn't get home to 8:30 at night, and had to come do it all the way over again the next day. And I was so angry with my boss. I was like, she really, even like my coworkers was like, oh, like she really got it out for you. Like she really got it out for you. Like she really is mad. And so the whole thing was just so, oh my God. But I remember the days when things shifted, and I became okay with the commute, and I became okay with the process, and I would come home and I would be happy, and I would be happier and happier. And God reminded me yesterday, it's going to always seem like a process until you come to the point of rest. And I remembered again when I was in my single season, and it wasn't until 2018 when I came to the point of rest. And as soon as I came into rest, Terrence came along. And it's like, wow. So yeah, so I just wanted to share that with y'all, because like y'all not the only ones going through a process. Like we're all going through some type of process, whether it's weight loss, whether it's waiting in your single season, whether it's when you're on a job you don't like, whatever process it is. You're all like if you're anything like me, I'm always feeling like I'm at ground zero. Like, when am I going to get to? And let me tell y'all something that's so funny, that he reminded me, the Lord reminded me of this morning. I went from undergrad straight to grad. So I had 6+ years of college, like going straight through. And I remember after I graduated from grad school, after I got my master's, I remember coming back to work, and and first of all, I remember coming from graduation, from my grad school graduation, and I had this empty feeling. Like, it was the weirdest feeling. And I remember, I had out of state, you know, my family had come from New York, and I just remember I felt horrible. And I never forget, I went home and I took a nap, and it was like one of the worst naps ever. And so I got back to work from my graduation, and I remember having a conversation with my boss. And she told me, she said, I said, I just felt so depressed after my, she said, that's normal. She said, because you have accomplished something. She said, it's normal. And I'm thinking, wow, you're right. Like, once you accomplish something, it's like, okay, been there, done that. And so it just reminded me, like, to enjoy the journey. Like, enjoy the journey, because the process. Enjoy the process. You got to look at it as a journey, though, because if you think of it as a process, you're gonna think of it as daunting. But enjoy the journey, because once you reach your destination, it's no longer fun. Like, so enjoy it. And so I just wanted to share that with you, because mainly to encourage myself. Like, really, like, to encourage myself. So I hope this encourages you. Hope you got something from it. And yeah, if y'all going through it, let me know down in the comments. All right. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm going through these days. All right. So we'll see y'all tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Terrence and I are gonna go live. We're gonna share with you a testimony that happened over the weekend, that only God. Only God. Oh, before I get off, I do want to share a scripture with you. I got to do that. I got to share a word with you from the Word of God. It has to do with process. This is coming from James 1 and 4, and it says, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Like if you want to get that quote unquote perfection, as I did when I finished grad school, and I'm telling you, I said I was never going to go back to school again because I had completed that. And it's been rewarding having that those 2 degrees. Um, other than the student loans, but that's another story. That's still a process I'm going through. But yeah, so that's the word. And so I hope this encourages you. And yeah, so you all be blessed. If you need some prayer, of course, you can shout out, reach out to me and Terrence and Jill at gmail.com. But yeah, you all be blessed, and we will see y'all tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live, going all the way live. All right, be blessed, and I'll see y'all tonight. Bye bye.